Check the, it's not on yet. Hold on.
Hey, did you find this tablet?
Nope, that's a spare. We have no keyboard for it though.
We had a big talk about that today. Say, Megan Ann. Oh, I didn't know who it was. Hey, Barry. Soft for a bit.
Gosh darn tablet.
Yep, mine's out of. Oh well.
Here, it'll go. Start getting loud.
Aha. He's taking my candy. It's still in here.
I think neither. If I run out, I know where to come get some.
Okay, word. Oh, she's busy. I was going to say, where'd we place with the pumpkin? Could have been at town board meeting, Wally. That was today. This is the third meeting I've had today. This is the third one today from 3 different organizations.
At least 5, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Our town board meeting lasted 20 minutes and our budget meeting lasted 10. Half hour, we were done with everything. It's 2 of us. Whatever.
When you hit presentation, it automatically plays up on the screen. That's why you have to share a screen time. Even if you have it on duplicate here, it will change it to extend when you hit presentation. Automatic. So that's why we set it up that way. Right, but then when you play the presentation, if you're the play button somewhere top there, if it's up there. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you put the computer on duplicate, as soon as you hit the play presentation, it'll automatically switch it to extend. And if you don't have that second screen paired, then they won't see. They'll see the presenter version and not the presentation part. That's why we set it up on duplicate. But then their clicker don't.
There's one on your desk, buddy.
Still wrong. Oh, come on, you send that to them many times, I don't believe you.
I'm tired of it.
Sick of all
I'm tired of it. Tired.
the.
There's a lot out right now.
You gotta just punch in something or just turn it on, or what do you gotta do?
Barry will tell you.
Okay,
Can't wait till Megan brings it up before you.
Yeah, Megan and Donna. Donna's has to be online too.
just leave it shut then?
Well, you can bring power it on and everything, just you can't connect until everything's online.
Should I go on to the regular page then or whatever?
Yeah, you can go on email and stuff. if you want.
Damn thing didn't work again.
What you got?
It just comes up the blue screen.
Yeah, all your icons are over on the left.
Well, yeah, but which one do you punch for?
The Outlook Express.
Oh, look, 13?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did nothing. Computers hate me, I know they do.
How long are you gonna be tonight, William? I'm out of here. There's a couple of department heads
I can be
that
pretty
need to
darn,
get to the point right away, but they don't.
I
Thank
can be
you.
pretty darn fast.
I don't need it.
What department heads that need to get to the point and be fine.
Back here?
Getting old sucks, don't it?
Turn myself when I'm driving. I knew that they wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Bad enough, though.
Uh-oh.
Take care of yourself, kiddo. Mr. Kim.
Vote.
Right over there.
As long as you're here, you wanna fix mine?
Sure.
Got signed in and I pressed Outlook and that's all I got. Double tap it, you got.
Yeah, you gotta double tap.
Oh.
Or you can
okay.
touch with your face, you can double tap with
Oh,
your
okay, I
finger.
just hit it once. That's
Yeah.
fine. Here.
Should redo the whole budget. Get it, Bobby?
Yeah, Barry got me signed in, I think. I didn't punch sign in yet, but.
Thank you. Other than that, you. My knee's killing me.
Yeah. Bothering you a little bit.
Oh, I'll get over it eventually. COVID shot, my booster.
Oh,
And when I do, I get the, yeah, I get my
when,
back
when did you get the booster? Last week? I
Thursday.
gotta go get mine.
Thursday, but I got my booster and my flu shot all at the same time.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that's wrecked.
I didn't feel very good this weekend. I slept a lot, but it was okay because Dick was down in Brookfield with the dogs, Jane's dogs. So
It was okay.
Huh. His daughter's getting married? Oh, that's too bad. Hey, Pat. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, John. I don't think we'll have a problem.
Done.
Okay. So. FYI. Uh-huh. Okay.
Hey, Brennan. Not too bad.
Want it done post haste.
Well, they have it.
It's like you did to the back of your pickup, same thing I did to mine.
But I think that
Flatbed.
Yeah, when, September, parked, somebody just sideswiped me, so
Oh,
it was like the whole left side of the truck.
Theory
Well, if I'm
is-
gonna do, if I'm gonna get insurance.
Or we
because
do.
it's big.
yep.
I mean, it's been good.
Oh, yeah.
Throw the wheeler on there. The only bad thing is like,
Yeah.
strapping it down.
You gotta strap it down, I know.
But it's awesome.
It's nice. I put my cattle trailer with it. It's so
Oh, really?
nice to have, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It's just backing up to the gooseneck and just throwing it on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Without having to drop everything. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Where did you get yours?
Double G.
Oh, same place.
Yeah, that's like the only one place you can get them.
Yeah, he said he's, sells most of the nation.
Everybody had their
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah,
or-
he's number one dealer. Bradford, maybe.
Bradford's what I got.
Yeah,
so.
one that got that. It's number one for Bradford and number two for CM or something,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Those guys, they farm.
Got your thing all
They sell
charged,
that.
Yeah.
They,
Bob?
the one brother works full time.
It all charged
at a
up?
factory.
Huh?
Is it all charged?
Supposed to be.
I don't know.
I
if they
went
do.
to
And they have a
Wisconsin County
greenhouse.
Highways yesterday, Wisconsin,
And-
Yeah, anytime I texted him, it was like,
but they had legislation.
oh, I put the bet on.
And
Uh-huh.
the first
And,
one passed, it was
Water
already
in
in
mine
line.
might not be water.
It's like 9:30 at
And
night.
then
I'll
the
text him, I know we'll get
lighters,
everything. He texted right back, he's like,
that
leave it in the
has
morning,
in
but if you
Senate.
wanna come tonight.
That's the only two that are connected though, but you can tell them you can all connect.
That's the case.
That must be how he
The
does
guy
it.
that was,
Yeah, he,
so
I
they
brought
took
it back and had a
exception,
neighbor
or
put
some
it
of
on.
them took exception to the cameras.
I'm happy I did that.
And so,
Beefed it up a little bit, 200.
that's still, I gotta
Nice.
meet with,
Yeah, I'm really happy.
yeah.
Well, mine was, I mean,
Sign
Very
in now?
upset.
my truck's got under 100,000
I
miles,
think
but it was
the
rusting apart.
legislation isn't.
You know,
But I did.
inside the-
Needs.
Says connecting
Under
to
the
meeting
doors.
manager.
Next to the meeting.
There we go.
I
put
think,
that on.
and so they're
That's so much
still.
nicer.
About that.
That's under $250,000 right now.
Oh, really?
Brian
Hey.
made
Original
you-
transmission and everything. Everyone's like, how is it, like, we need to give this back to Dodge to see
Right now.
what is right with yours, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
usually a
that's-
transmission,
It's not.
about
it's
80,000
not-
you
Yep, my last diesel, I replaced it
Okay.
3 times at 90,000 miles each time.
Yeah.
This time I got 245,000 and not a single,
It's crazy.
nothing. Now I'm driving home.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Stuff here is okay.
Oh,
Yep. It's fine.
some math stuff tonight.
Then where
huh?
do you
Is
want
that
me
what
to keep this
Oh,
here?
like your
Where it
website?
works for you, I don't.
Zach?
I actually got it to work on the other screen this time.
If we can get
Did
these
you?
things-
Okay.
I think, I was just telling Pat.
I don't know what's up with this, but once we get started, it goes away.
Library
Isn't that crazy?
last night, and the
All right.
woman
I'm
there
not
said
gonna
that
spend too much.
the website,
No.
we're down to like 17 county. So I think it's,
Your number.
Oh, look at Megan has.
It's obviously people don't care. They said like, even when they're.
Question on set up again.
These two.
no,
It's really
they
just.
come in, they
go.
put them on.
Right.
Sometimes it works just fine, right?
Yeah, a single place in the world is wearing it, except for this place. At this point, we're just virtue signaling or something. Something.
Yeah, and that's part of it too.
Set up the
So-
screen.
Keyboard, please.
Huh? He needs his
Oh, the
keyboard.
keyboard.
Barry did something again. Bless
You
it.
don't get one anymore, Mark.
It worked until Barry fixed it.
You are a mean one, Brandon.
I know, they call me the Grinch.
You did? Yeah, right in your yard?
Thank you.
Oh, really?
I didn't know if I was allowed
The
to come in.
circus.
You gonna run
Yes.
again or what?
Right here.
We are
Oh,
gonna-
Yes.
oh, there.
Windows 10.
Yeah. See,
He sent me
sure.
resolution from Central Planning to sign
Yeah.
on the thing, and I clicked on it and it wouldn't do anything. So I told him just to send it to.
I'm gonna let you just sign it when you bring it.
Yeah.
Sounds very good.
Well, you definitely put in use of service. That, just doesn't put.
Jerry tonight?
Yeah.
No. He's working. This isn't the regular county board night.
Thank you.
Friday. Said he had.
Ready to go?
179 hours of overtime.
Couple more minutes. Okay.
How's this going?
Take it out.
Nope, I told Megan he's gotta make sure he don't pay.
See someone else is spamming through your.
Again, I got one from Mark Kirschner.
But it's asking if I could spare a minute to
Yeah, I got,
do with the request.
I got that one.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that, Brandon.
Okay.
We'll meet after the meeting.
Okay.
You ready to go? All right, I call the meeting to order. Megan will do roll call. Or we will all do roll call. Okay, thank you. Please note that Mike is here. Jerry Lauer is excused. And John Jarvis just recently joined.
I just got here.
Okay, thank you very much. I was at an ICC meeting last month, and Bob Miller, the county board chair from Marquette, said, "We're getting a roll call machine." Oh God, are you sure you want to do that? So anyway, we will stand for silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed. Motion by Waddell, second by Eckstein. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2021 monthly meeting. Motion by Mr. Jarvis. Second by Mr. Piaski. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, same sign. All right, at this time, we will have our 2022 budget public hearing. No one is signed up to speak. Okay. Ruth or Sarah, do you have anything you want to? Then the public hearing is now closed. Okay, next we have the final county supervisory district plan public hearing. No one is signed up to speak concerning that. Do you have any questions? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. All right, public comments, and we have Chief Donaldson to speak in public comments.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just wanted to let you know that earlier this year, we started in a process to apply for a USDA distance learning and telemedicine grant. And we got word late last week that we had been awarded the grant. We're still in the process of, they made an adjustment to the budget that we don't think was accurate. So we're going to be in the process of appealing that with them, and we'll see where we get with that. But it's about a $250,000 project that we'll be undertaking to implement telemedicine in the ambulances, and it'll also improve our distance learning capabilities at the stations. So it's a 3-year grant period. So I anticipate we'll start with the procurement process probably early in 22. And our hope is by beginning of Q3 in 22 to have the program operational. So we've already started to work with our healthcare system partners, and we'll see exactly what the program looks like in the end. But physicians in the area and other healthcare providers we work with are very excited about the program.
That's great. Do you have any questions for Brian? Thank you so much. That is amazing. What?
Ones that have gotten this grant in the state, but the entire country? Is that?
We were the only EMS agency to be awarded a grant under this program, and we were the only agency in Wisconsin to be awarded a grant under this program this year.
You didn't say that. Don't be afraid to. No.
Yeah, no, a lot of, most of the other recipients were hospitals or healthcare systems and colleges or universities.
Yeah.
This is a grant that you wrote?
Yes. And I had a lot of help from one of our paramedics, Jessica Lease, and worked with the vendors who will likely be supplying some of the technology for us to, it was a collaborative effort.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Vosco had, he wrote in favor of the grant. didn't
Yeah,
he?
we had several people from the community and from the healthcare systems, including Dr. Bosco, write letters of support.
That's
So
great.
it was a big effort.
Thank you very much. Good job, Brian. Okay, we're going to move on to new business, reports and presentations, County Administrator's Monthly Report. Melissa Pingle. Administrator.
Good evening. I don't have a monthly report. I've only been here 1 week. So just wanted to introduce myself and say I'm glad to be here. This last week was very busy. I got to talk with the sheriff, talk with Mary, talk with Donna, talk with Ruth and Patty, and I even got to go out to the senior dining center, talk to those gals out there that are hustling and bustling. It's been a very neat week, and I'm happy to be here, and I think you have a fabulous community, and the staff here is running this place. It's going well. The department heads are doing what they're supposed to. And now I'm here, and I'm here to work with you to move on, moving other things forward, working on projects, doing some priorities, seeing where we are at. And so December, I will be communicating with you before then, one-on-one. And then at that meeting, I'd like to have just some of the top things that I think I'm hearing from you, and then maybe have a discussion about that. And before, if I don't speak with you before then, which I would not think that would be, because I'll be setting up meetings with you, reach out anytime, email, phone call, whatever. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that I'm going to really like it here, and I hope to do a good job for you. And I'm here for any questions if you have any now. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, next we have the Veteran Services Office Annual Report. Bill?
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for giving me the time today.
In front of you, you're going to find the my 2020 annual report. Inside of that is the federal GDX, the gross distribution of expenditures from the federal VA, that basically our report card, how we look at a federal level. And behind that, every year I go through the recognized veterans charities and provide information on how much, well, where their money is going. I'm not going to bore you with numbers. You folks can read, and that's why I give you the reports. Big takeaways from 2020. Well, we had a pandemic. We saw a lot less office visits. We basically changed the communication modality in the office very quickly. Didn't even shut down for a day. Our interaction with veterans, although reduced face-to-face to about half of what we normally see, we kept business flowing just as normal. Not only were we navigating through a pandemic, we're also trying to adapt to some of the most sweeping changes the VA has ever seen, at least since 1994, when they revamped the disability compensation system. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in a couple of minutes. We're still not only were we able to maintain functionality, but the pandemic increased VA's reliance on their own technology, and that translated to our office. The decreased office visits meant less consumption of local assets. But if you look at that bottom line there, it came in 19,000 under budget. That was mainly because we didn't go to training. Training dollars are normally taken from a state grant that we receive every year. Because we didn't consume that grant for the training, we were able to transfer a lot of the office expenses to that, taking the pressure off the tax levy. Some highlights in 2020. The Mission Act was fully implemented. Long story short, for the Mission Act, VA hired Optum. Those are the same folks who manage United Healthcare, to put together a network of providers who would contract with, be trained by, and interact with the VA to offer care in the community at VA expense. At the same time, they were decommissioning or pulling the flag from a couple other failed community care programs. So as those, the Choice First and the Veterans Choice Program were winding down, Optum was standing up the Mission Act. Let's just say that the VA and veterans were confused. We spent a lot of time dealing with who's going to pay for health care. A lot of whack-a-mole. 3 different agencies involved every step of the way. It was pretty time intensive. As it stands right now, the Mission Act, pros and cons, but it's getting a little better. In 2020, the VA also expanded its caregiver support program. Previously, the caregiver support was an interaction between a veteran's caregiver, the veteran, and a social worker in the VA. There was a lot of subjectivity. Can you say fraud? Yeah, a ton of fraud was revealed in some studies. They'd have basically veterans who were enrolled in the caregiver support program based on a mental health condition or traumatic brain injury to a point where they needed the care of someone else on a daily basis to meet activities of daily living. And then they'd find them out in a concert, things like that, running a business, all kinds of stuff. So as part of the changes to the caregiver support program, they changed the underlying eligibility requirements. They're not really enforcing them yet, but we have veterans right here in this community who are basically going to get booted off this monthly stipend. We haven't heard the screaming yet, but believe me, we will. The Appeals Modernization Act went into full effect. It changed how the VA does business, the processes that we use. If we let's say, submitted a service-connected disability claim, and we don't like the result of that claim, this changes how we approach the VA, how we submit the appellate actions, even changes the evidentiary requirements on what the VA can and cannot consider when the evidentiary record is open, when it's closed. It added some timeliness, but it also added a lot more touches. Where before I could submit a claim and I'd say, 6, 8, 10 months of dwell time on that claim while the VA worked it. Now we're down to 4 and they throw us another bad decision. We're touching it again, sending it back, another 4 months, we're getting another bad decision. We're touching these claims 3 to 5 times more before we get them to an appellate level. Some other law changes in 2019 went into effect in 2020. These were some good changes. The Blue Water Navy Veterans Act actually opened up the assumption of herbicide exposure to Navy veterans who are within the coastal waters of the Republic of Vietnam. Correction, I know I talked about this last year, but we started seeing some of those claims. The NEMR Act applies, so we're seeing some pretty good retroactive benefits back to, in some cases, decades. And for the first, and there was also some legislative action introducing 3 new presumptive conditions for herbicide exposure for Vietnam veterans. Important to note that that was legislative action that brought those presumptives into being. All right, where we're at right now. Again, we're looking at coming in under budget, primarily because of COVID and switching the burden from the grant to the tax, from the tax levy to the grant. My hat's been thrown back in the ring in a few different ways. Although I've been a member at large for our state association's legislative committee for, well, a dozen years, they officially moved me into a formal position. Oh, excuse me. Allergies, not the COVID. I was also appointed to the state of Wisconsin's Incarcerated Veterans Program as the County Veteran Service Officer's representative. I'm going to warn you guys, I am going to stir the pot on that a little bit. DOC, in my eyes, is not doing what they should for our incarcerated veterans. And I'm going to lend whatever weight I have to some accountability on that. All right, here's proof positive that no good deed goes unpunished. Back in roughly 2000, I wrote a white paper that concerned expedited citizenship for National Guard members. And that led to some law changes in 2002. Out there in DC, they have a whole task force working on this right now because we actually have combat veterans who are being who are non-citizens and they're being deported. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to be a member of the military. But part and parcel with that promise is, boy, if you do serve, we're gonna expedite your citizenship. That's not happening. Someone out there dug up the old white paper, gave me a call and said, okay, how'd you do it? Because we need to do it again. So I'm going to be involving myself in that effort. Thankfully, I can do that virtually through the Pro Bono Consortium out in DC. And I'm pushing the assistant CVSO. I didn't have to push too hard to start taking a formal role with our CVSO Association of Wisconsin. When I'm affecting veterans that are statewide or nationally, I'm also affecting Waushara County veterans. I'm looking specifically at this citizenship effort, and I have no doubt that we have some non-citizen veterans right here in Waushara County, so I can get the law changed to address that, fix that. I'm gonna. This year again, some new presumptive conditions were added for Gulf War veterans. This one took me totally flat-footed. Had no idea it was even coming down the pipe. The VA has not voluntarily introduced presumptive condition, any presumptive conditions since 2010. Anything that we've gotten through has been a huge lobbying effort and federal legislation moving the VA to do it. Basically saying, dear VA, you're going to do it. Loves and kisses, Congress. These ones, they actually stood up and said, we've got enough evidence that of exposure to particulate matter for anybody serving in the basically Afghanistan, Iraq theater from 1990 to present, to say if you've got asthma, rhinitis, rhinosinusitis, we're going to automatically grant those as a disability connected to that particulate matter exposure. We saw over the last year an evolution of Board of Veterans Appeals in DC. Those claims have now moved to virtual hearings. We're actually holding those hearings right in my office. It's pretty awesome. At the same time, we've got two different appeals tracks going. We have the old legacy appeals that literally an appeal can take. I just had one settled in May that I introduced the very first month I started working for Waushara County. So 12 years this appeal took to push through. With the Appeals Modernization Act, because of the way it was structured, we're actually starting to see some of those come through in 8-10 months. So some really good stuff, but we have to track both of those at the same time, and it can get pretty confusing at times. We're facing a record number of veterans deaths. That means an increasing number of survivors benefits. I'll talk a little bit about survivor's pension in a minute, but I'll put it this way. It's the most administratively burdensome benefit that the VA manages. So we're trading off some good disabled vets for some really, really long administrative process. I don't know if I mentioned, since hiring Brian, another accredited representative like myself, we've actually doubled the number of disability claims we're able to prosecute in a year. 2017, before Brian, we averaged about 60 to 65, maybe 66 claims decided each year. 2021, we have 124 to date. We still got a couple of months to go. I wish I could say it doubled the dollar amounts. It doesn't quite translate that way, but you see multiple millions more coming in each year. If we just do some straight calculations, in 2017, per capita vets were averaging about $3,807 per veteran. Now we're up to about $5,303. So let's think about where that could go if we really concentrated on growing the office. All right. A paperless environment doesn't actually get rid of paper. It just lowers its production down to the lowest level. Hi, that's me. Because of the change in the AMA, I mentioned this, we now routinely touch the same claim 3 to 5 times before we bump it up to the appellate level. And that's when we start to see a small reprieve in dwell time. On the VA Community Care Network, as they passed that law, they left some gaps. So we've got Optum, who manages community care, busy pointing at the VA, and we got the VA busy pointing at community care. In the meantime, we've got veterans who are basically, literally, having their emergency room visit covered, but not their ambulance ride to get to the emergency room. Working that. I did mention that this job actually entails researching law and stuff and trying to hold other people accountable to it. Yeah, big part of the job. Going forward, finding the time to digitize the records in this basically increased workload environment is proving very challenging. Both Brian and I are really focused on claims, not so much on the administrative side of the house. I'm going to be asking for some help on that in the future. Another thing that I didn't see coming, but it really reared its head, decreased membership in service organizations is leaving more on my plate. As service organizations locally can't meet a need or can't perform a function, they basically lob it over to me and say, hey, Bill, can you handle this? It's veterans. I'm going to be blunt. Event planning is not my bag. With dealing with an increased level of complexity in claims and processes, we're still faced with the need to digitize the office. I mentioned we're going to probably be looking for some assistance with that. Half the visits, over the last 2 years, half the visits, twice the production. I know we can still do better. There's some stuff on my radar, specifically pension benefits, aid and attendance benefits, things like that, that we haven't even scratched the surface on. But to get there, we need to invest in the office. I'm going to be talking about Sarah to include either contracted work or a limited time employee for digitizing files. And I'm going to be looking at how we can fit in someone front of the house or some clerical support. I think with the move to the new building, we're going to be sharing space with the Department of Aging. Already talking with, and it's kind of already built into the plan to share that staff. Not sure what that's going to look like budget-wise yet, but that's a discussion we should have. Subject to your questions.
Say one thing about Bill. Was in the Navy for 6 years. It's long enough. But he's been in that long. Stuff that he does, all of us, is amazing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for all you've done for our veterans, and not just ours, but with the groups that you're joining, you'll be affecting a whole lot more
Well,
veterans.
it's my privilege, and that's, I mean, that's why I took this job, is to, I can make a difference. That's,
And an early happy Veterans Day.
thanks.
I appreciate this list. I don't know how many years ago it was that I asked Bill to put this list together because, you know, you always hear about, you know, the different groups that are, I mean, we get lots of mail asking for donations. So I asked him to put this together, and I think he's provided it every year since. But I just want you to know that when you donate to Waushara County Veterans Service, none of it goes for administration. It all goes to our local veterans. So, thank you, Bill. Okay, next we will have our Child Support Office Annual Report, Director Kim Stebbins. Hard to follow that, isn't it, Kim?
Thanks a lot, Bill. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I wanted to go over our organizational chart. I am the director. I have 3 child support specialists. Ruth Zowski is our corporation counsel. While she's not underneath or in my department, she is definitely an extension of and very involved in everything that we do. Wanted to go over some primary revenue sources for my office. So our primary revenue sources are first performance-based incentives. So all the stuff that we do, and I will go over later in this presentation, is based on 4 federal performance measures that we have to meet. So based on our performance, we get a certain amount of incentive funding. These funds are not eligible for a 66% federal match. A lot of our funding is through grants through the federal government or state funding, which next is the general purpose revenue, which is GPR. That's state allocated funding. these funds are eligible for the 66% federal match. So earlier this year, the governor was proposing his budget, and Waushara County was one of 55 counties that passed a resolution supporting our ask of an increase of $4 million in each year. While the governor left that in his budget, the Joint Finance did not agree and reduced that to 1.75 million GPR increase. So we did get an increase. And then that amount is eligible for the match. So we get another 3.4 million match per year for child support funding. So how does that impact Waushara County? From last year to next year, we are getting $18,000 more in funding. So that is definitely impactful for our office. And I just want to thank all of you because they do recognize those resolutions. The secretary definitely said that the governor does notice when counties pass resolutions, and having 55 counties, it does matter. So thank you. The third biggest primary revenue source is their 66% match. So all the expenditures that we have for our office, to run our office, we upload into a system, and the federal government, they will give us grant money, reimbursing us 66%, less the incentive funding that I talked about earlier, and less any other collections that are unmatchable funding. Other sources of revenue. Birth cost recovery is one, although that one is dwindling, which is the reason why we need to continually ask the state to step in, because Wisconsin is one of a few one of few states yet still allowing birth cost recovery, which is basically if a birth is paid for by Badger Care, the father is charged a portion of the funds to repay Badger Care, and the child support agencies retain 15% of that we collect back from the other parent, and then 85% goes back to the DHS. We used to get federal match funding, and the Office of Child Support Enforcement says, well, nope, sorry, you don't get federal match funding anymore. So that is a huge loss for us. The next is medical support general purpose revenue. So we do get an incentive for adding private health insurance for children on Badger Care. There is program income that's very small, but we do collect fees for things like payment histories if someone stops in our office. And last but not least, the county levy. So after all that comes through, the county picks up whatever's left, and which is pretty much very small compared to what our expenditures are. Performance and collections. So we run on a federal fiscal year, which is October 1st through September 30th following year. So we just started a new federal fiscal year. We have, like I stated earlier, performance measures. The child support program is measured on 5 program areas. 4 are measured on the county level, and 1 is measured on the state level, which is cost effectiveness. So for our federal fiscal year 21 that just ended, Waushara County, out of the $3.1 million that was owed for child support, we collected $2.4 million. So that is a collection rate of 78.47%. It was a slight increase from the previous year. We have a goal on the federal performance measure of 80%, so we're very close to that, and I think it's still very good. I believe we are still above the state average for those collections. Arrears collections. So how this is measured is the amount of cases that have arrears that received a payment. So 79.85% of the cases that had arrearages, we collected a payment on them. It was a slight decrease from the previous year. One of the things that did change this year is we didn't get the federal stimulus intercept. We got one the previous year. And then the federal government changed how they were doing things with those stimulus payments, and we weren't able to intercept them. Paternity establishment. So that is children born out of wedlock needing paternity established. The goal rate for that is 90%, and we're at 107.07%. And you wonder why it can be over 100%, but it's when the paternity starts and finishes within those fiscal years, it can overlap and causing a higher percentage than 100%. Support order establishment. These are cases needing establishment of a support order or health insurance order. So the goal rate was 80%, and we established orders on 92.76% of the cases. So last measure that is through the state, that is cost effectiveness, which I think is awesome. For every, the child support program collects $7.16 for every dollar spent on the program. The last I checked, we were ranked 12th in the nation for cost effectiveness. I mean, I think that's great. Couple of the notable struggles for our agency: addiction. It's just one of those things. I mean, I think every department is probably dealing with that. And incarcerated parents. Well, both of those tend to tie in with each other. So, obtaining and enforcing orders for private health insurance. Well, what we do is, as an agency, we obtain court orders for health insurance on 98% of our cases. So what the court does is order a health insurance order. So the child support agency checks with employers to see if there's private health insurance available at a reasonable cost. Reasonable cost being the cost to add the child to the health insurance can't exceed 10% of their monthly earnings. So as a statistic here, in 2019, 28,810 Badger Care eligible children were enrolled in private health insurance. Cost savings to the state, $26.6 million. And if you can see that other part there, $38.9 million savings to the federal government. I think it shows you that we do more than just collect money from parents. We do a lot more for families. Child support positively impacts families. So here's some statistics and notable things. 68% of children in poor families in Wisconsin live with a single parent. For poor families that receive child support, it makes up 42% of their household income. Children that receive child support are more likely to graduate high school and less likely to enter the criminal justice system. Fathers who begin paying for the children then see them more frequently and have more positive interactions, which I think ties into the one above, that if you're involved in, we have both parents involved, there's more likely to do well in school, stay out of trouble. We are seeing more shared placement orders. I've been involved in child support 15 years, and I can tell you that it's went from the standard of every other weekend to the courts are now saying, well, why isn't there 50-50 or shared of some sort? So I think the courts are recognizing it's beneficial for both parents to be regularly involved. There's just been that shift. I think it's just awesome. We're seeing both parents want to be involved. Things are just changing. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I think you're doing a great job, Kim. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, that helped. She put the light on. I can do my paper turns. Thank you. Okay, next we'll have the building project update. The Samuels Group Vice President, Kurt Berner. We're not gonna keep Kurt here. Yeah, we are gonna keep you here a while. aren't
Yes,
we?
you are. Well, good evening, everyone. I'll keep this brief because I know we'll chat later in closed session. Just wanted to give you an update. Design meetings will continue for the government center. We have some more tomorrow and then forthcoming. The government center status right now, the bid pack 1 that I told you was going to be ready that first week in November has been delayed about 1 week due to butterflies. As you may think it's a shock, but we submitted the NOI to the DNR and your search came up very high for a rare butterfly on that site. So we actually went through the process to determine that butterflies aren't an issue, but it cost us a week. And I did share with the Building and Grounds Committee. I figured I would let the rest of the group know. Due to the soil borings, we did a budget comparison of whether we do rammed aggregate piers or whether we do over excavation because of your sand being able to meet the compaction. And we decided to go with rammed aggregate piers. It's just a more cost-effective solution. It's a longer term solution, and cost perspective, it's about a wash. So rammed aggregate piers does give us another step in the process to be able to have that done. It's going to be about a 6-week process, but when we're proposing starting, it doesn't affect the overall duration in regards to the project. So we are targeting to have that bid pack 1, which is footings and foundations, the rammed aggregate piers, the clearing and grubbing for the government center out here sometime in November. And then we will bring you back the bids based on discussion with Building and Grounds. They want us to bid it a couple of ways, if we would start immediately or if we would start in the spring to be able to see what the cost comparisons are. I have told them that it would be my opinion that to start it sooner because of the inflation that we've seen in materials would be better rather than the cost of winter conditions. But we're going to bid it out both ways, so then we'll bring you that information for the government center. EMS buildings, we're awaiting property decisions for both of those. The Watoma project is completed with design, just needs to have civil once we get the property decisions made. Same thing with Poisippi. Poisippi is running a couple of weeks behind that, but by the time we get the decision on the property there, it should be able to roll right in to have both of those bid as well here in the next few weeks. Highway shop is in design development phase, which is the next phase before CDs. We're still planning to have that ready to be bid out in spring or probably early part of the year so that we can have a spring start for the highway shop. And then I did meet with the city this last month, and they have requested that we create an ad hoc committee with members of the county, members of the city, to talk about the reuse of this campus and what can we do to keep this building in operation and find occupants for that. So I have told them that we'll probably target that after the first of the year. When we get through all of the bidding process with some of the projects that we're going to be starting up here, because we have about a 24-month construction duration. We're not moving out of here right away, so we've got some time to deal with occupants for the building. So that's all I have for now till I'll bore you in closed session. Anything else? Questions? Okay.
Thank you, Kurt. Next, we have discussion and possible motion action items. First on the list is COVID precautions and policies. Patty? You're on.
Oh, so as Melissa stated, we spent some time on Friday between Melissa and Ruth and I just talking about what's been going on. We had a special session, asked for masking again. I appreciate that everybody is doing that. So things are getting a tad better. I was afraid to say that. I don't know, this is probably what. As you've probably noticed in the United States and in many of the counties, it is improving. Waushara County just tends to be behind in all of that. So I have great hopes that things are going to get better. So we still have occurred a couple of deaths. We still have staff that have been affected. And we can tell you how many we know based on having to pay them, but there are definitely many staff that are able to go home, work from home. And some of that has to do with childcare or their contact, et cetera. So there's still quite a few staff that have been affected. So it's looking better, but don't rush too fast. We're coming into holidays. So at this point, the ask is that we continue to evaluate the need to continue to wear masks until we know that things are much better, probably past through the holidays. And that the decision gets to be made by Melissa with input from the health department. Yes. Oh.
No
I just
second.
don't see how. I just went to the back, 79,000.
We're trying to keep the staff and the people inside the building safe.
Most people are.
It's a choice that they're
That's their
making,
choice,
the choice they're making.
not in our building. All right, Brandon made a motion. It died because for lack of a second, so we'll move on. Thank you very much, Patty. All right, consideration of possible action on following resolutions. The first one is a resolution number 49-11-21. Final resolution regarding unconditional county guarantee of its pro rata share intergovernmental agreement and taxable revenue bond financing for Bug Tussle 1 LLC project. Ruth?
Hi, so my name's Ruth, and you spent all summer listening to me talk about how I was going to lose my eyesight and go blind. And so that's done. And so now I decided to break my knee. So I'm just going to stand here for a while because I can't go up and down very well. So this resolution is regarding the broadband expansion project with Bug Tussle. It is now down to 5 counties instead of 6 counties. And it doesn't change the risk for Waushara County. Our risk stays the same. We will still continue to get payments from Bug Tussle over the course of the project that then can be used to help pay for our emergency communication system or whatever we might possibly need. And so this is the final step in approving that. Fond du Lac has approved it. Jackson County is planning on approving it next week. I'm not exactly sure where the other 3 counties are at, but I've had conversations with both Fond du Lac and Jackson. Fond du Lac will be the bond issuers. And then as part of this project, Bug Tussle will be building a new tower for us at the highway department, where we'll relocate our radio equipment from this building to as we move out. And they will also be guaranteeing us our own dedicated fiber that we'll be able to use for our communication system. So that's kind of where we're at. You've approved the preliminary resolutions, and this is just the final one as part of the conduit bonding. Requires more than one resolution.
Thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion. I would like you to state your motion. Yes, Mr. Waito.
Motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the resolution. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Eckstein. This will be a roll call vote.
Larry,
Which county dropped out?
Iron County. And I'm not exactly sure why. I tried to get that information and I haven't been able to why yet, but that was last week. They decided not to move forward. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, Mr. Waddle, are you going to
My
vote?
computer died again. I had it fully charged, so, it just went black.
All right.
Charged, so.
Talking to me?
Yes.
I'll vote aye.
Aye.
Okay. This passes. Thank you very much. Next, we have a resolution number 501121, resolution approving the Waushara County 2022 budget appropriation.
So the budget has not changed since it was presented to you in September. You now have the full budget packets. There were a few questions between September and now that I think that I have answered. And so I haven't gotten any requests for any modifications of it. The budget is basically increasing because of the building project. We were able to toe the line on everything else. I think you'll recall when they were here to talk about the bonding project, that project would probably increase our mill rate by about 42 cents. We actually managed to keep it down to 39 cents. So it's a little bit under what we were thinking for the building project, but that is the entire increase in it. Everything else was absorbed by the departments and additional revenues from grants and some of COVID money.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented. Motion by Mr. Eckstein, second by Mr. Jarvis. Now, do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. This is another roll call vote.
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. This too has passed. Resolution number 511121, a resolution approving adoption of final Waushara County Supervisory Redistricting Plan.
So the districts haven't really changed since you looked at the preliminary plan. They have gone to all of the municipalities to look at their wards, and that didn't cause any substantial changes. The municipalities have not voiced any objections to the plan. So this plan then would be what we would use for the April election for county board, assuming it's approved.
Motion by Mr. King to approve, I assume.
Yes.
Second by Mr. Kirschner. Do you have any questions? Yes, Mr. Tim.
I looked over this census map and showing the different census units, the population in each one. And I noticed that there's numerous errors in it. And I'm wondering, who should I contact to complain about it?
What is the errors, Larry?
Well, they got this census tracts in here with zero population, and I know there's 3-4 houses in there with people living in them.
I don't know, but I can look into that for you because that's the information that came to us through the Census Bureau. I'm not sure, but let me look into that and I'll get back to you and we can figure out who to contact.
I'd just like to let them know that they did a poor job.
Yeah, okay. I'll figure out who we can complain to. How about that? And I'll let you know.
Thank you.
I think the census at this time was severely compromised by COVID. So if there are errors, Ruth will figure it out.
Well, I won't figure out what the errors are. I'll figure out who we can complain to, but I'm not going to go door to door.
I know.
Maybe after I
She
fix my
probably
knee.
would have if she hadn't hurt her knee. She
Right.
probably would have done that.
Because I know for several years before the census, I've been contacted as the assessor about different properties as to whether they're occupied and that kind of thing. And I don't know what happened to all the information because it wasn't followed through on.
Okay. All right. I'll figure it out. I'm sure there's some place that we can send a complaint to.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Okay, this will be a voice vote. Let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a voice vote. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Same sign. And thank you, committee, for taking care of this and working so diligently on this solution. I'm sorry, this map. Next, we have resolution number 521121, a resolution opposing the adoption of the 2021 Assembly Bill 605.
So in this bill, the state is proposing that they get to tell us what to do with our ARPA money. As you know, you've already approved an ARPA plan. There will be, slight modifications to it because we didn't need to spend as much money on the bonus pay, and we might not need as much money depending on what we decide on the building projects. And so then we'll have money to do that. But the state is saying that we need to spend a percentage of the money on housing, and they would set the terms on what it could be done. It hasn't even been approved yet, and all of our plans are in. I just think that it's inappropriate for the state to try to tell local communities, not just Waushara County, what the best use of those funds are to best help their communities. And so we're asking that we submit this resolution telling the state that we're opposed to them telling them what to do with our money, and they should figure out what to do with their own.
That sentence wasn't in the resolution.
Yeah, that wasn't in the resolution. That's a Ruzowski sentence.
Okay. I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Eckstein, second by Mr. Jarvis. Okay, this is a voice vote. All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next resolution item, I actually don't have the resolution for you. We have not gotten it from our attorneys in the opioid settlement, but I did want to kind of give you an update as to where we're at on that, because we may need to call a special county board session to approve a resolution, or perhaps the executive committee could handle that. It would be at your discretion. So right now, what we're talking about is that there are two of the groups that they are looking at having settlements reached with. This would not be all of them. So there will still be more money coming in the future. But they have reached a settlement with Janssen, who is one of the manufacturers. That settlement is for them to pay $5 billion over a no more than a 9-year period. $4,534,000 plus would go into abatement for all of the participating states and municipalities. And then there's also a proposed settlement with some of the distributors that is actually going through a structured settlement in the bankruptcy court. That one is to pay $21 billion over 18 years. And over 19 billion of that would go into the abatement fund. How it works in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin actually has legislation on the settlement, is that 70% of it would go into this fund. There is 4 counties, and there's a couple of cities that were involved in the litigation. There is a multiple page document that says what are approved abatement activities, anywhere from rehab services to mentors to group meetings to settings to stabilization to assisted medication assistance in handling the addiction. And what we would need to do is we would file with them what our abatement plan was, and then they would reimburse us through that fund. It would not go to the state. So the state has already agreed in Wisconsin not to take this chunk of money. The state has, the settlements went to the states first to approve it. The states have approved it, and so now it's going to the local governments to approve it. And then they'll have to have a certain percentage of us agree to the settlement before then it's approved. Once it's approved, then the court will issue the order and we could see money already in the first part of 2022 towards abatement actions. I think that this is a good deal for us. I would be recommending that we approve this settlement. I wish I had the resolution for you. We have a Zoom meeting on Thursday with our attorneys to figure out when that's going to happen. So I guess from you tonight, I need to know how you want me to proceed. If you want the executive committee to like tentatively approve the resolution and then it comes back to you in December, if you want to have a special meeting. We want to get this all wrapped up, and then hopefully by the end of November, so that it can all be approved by the court in December and that money can start flowing into Wisconsin in the first part of 2022.
Can we give the executive committee authority to approve that then?
Yes. And then we could bring it back to you in December, just as this is what it was.
I would make that motion to give the executive committee authority to approve this resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Waito, a second by Mr. Bonfiglio to allow the executive committee to act on this resolution. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Next, we have appointments to the Traffic Safety Commission. Anna Schenk of Wisconsin Rapids, her term is immediate to May 2022. Paul Mott, Watoma, his term immediate to May 2022. I assume that's the new chief of police in Watoma. Very good, thank you. Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Jarvis. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. Motion by Mr. Jarvis, second by Mr. Eckstein. Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session. I don't know if we have to remove.
What's the next movie?
Next on our agenda, we have a discussion possible motion action item on the emergency medical services property. Yeah. Okay. Very good. We're okay with that, Ruth? Okay, second, motion by Bonfiglio, second by Jarvis. All right. This is a roll call vote.
Mine died.
Oh, for crying out loud, John.
Sorry. Should have brought my thing.
Huh?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion has been approved. Do we have any board suggestions for future agenda items? Okay, I'll enter. Oh, Larry?
I'm wondering why we have to continue having inspection to come to this meeting. Most of the people that are attending the meeting are department heads, and to have them go through a metal detector seems to be time. I'm not worried about the department heads. And
Larry,
the other thing is, I'm gonna add to it, is that we had a zoning meeting several weeks ago, where this room was packed with people, both for and against the item that was on the zoning agenda. And none of those people were checked, because they didn't have the machine running that night. And I think there was more chance of a problem occurring at that meeting than there is at our county board meetings.
no. I think we continue on the way we are. Put that on the agenda.
Well,
Wally, do you?
I think
you
if,
wanna-
I think if we're going to have a meeting where we're going to have a lot of controversy, we ought to use it.
We're supposed to.
But you're not saying anything about the zoning meetings.
He just did.
He did say,
He said to continue like we have been.
This is that we're.
do you want that on the agenda for next month? Is what I'm asking you.
I don't know if it's going to do any good.
I believe,
Strange time, Larry.
Nobody seems to care anyway, so.
Of course we care. If we weren't comfortable coming in, throwing my jackknife and my truck seat before I come in, that's not a big deal. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that nobody's gonna walk in with a gun in their pocket or a knife or anything like that. Strange time. There's a lot of kooks up there. Waushara County.
But nobody cared about the zoning meeting.
Larry, Ruth has told you and Wally has told you, somebody dropped the ball on that. There should have been someone here for zoning and there normally is. But
There's never been. Not on zoning.
right.
And that policy has. I used to call and Jeff Network sit here, send somebody.
I'm not talking about the police officer sitting in at the meeting. I'm talking about the screening.
Before screening.
Right. Any other questions? Well, I think right now what we've done is we have an administrator and she will be making the call as far as masking is concerned, if I understood at the meeting the other day. You'll be,
I'm happy.
You'll get the feeling of the work.
She can bring that back to the board. too.
Right, exactly.
Mhm, exactly. All right. Motion by Mr. Exline to adjourn, second by Mr. Bonfiglio. We are adjourned. I'm gonna come in tomorrow, so I'll sign these tomorrow, okay?
You want it?
Yeah.
Give it to Barry.
Right.
Huh?
One of the little one? You?
Yeah, you coming by tomorrow at all?
Tell you what, this was on our road this morning. Right on Porter's Lake Road.
In my backyard this afternoon.
Oh, was it?
Not quite that high.
Yeah.
I was looking through yesterday and Carol come running in the house and said, there's something out there. I don't know what it is. Sounds like a freight train and he was snorting so loud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing was chasing Dole around.
Well, that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so I went outside and I said,
No, by any
what's
chance?
this all about? She said he was, well, she didn't say snort because she didn't know. I said, I don't know what it was. And then he was out and moved out on the lawn so you could see him. That's what he was.
This cold weather really got him going.
Yeah.
I think this is the one I got a couple years ago. In the same field, I think it's Dan.
It could be.
Yeah, it looks a lot like him, but they all look alike.
Boy, they've been running.
Yeah,
They've been running. Haven't been out at all, but just in the backyard, those fawns and the bucks.
Share of one and
Yeah, the caps are on.
Oh, geez, I've done that a few times.
Headache.
I love the fact that
It is working. You just.
I can't Oh, real well. We, went on this keto diet last week. We're on the wheat belly and we went on keto and I tell you what, aren't eating enough to alive. Just aren't hungry. Yeah.